Okay, so I'm gonna make this video about myself. Sorry if I'm rambling a little bit or I seem to jump around on topics. I do not have a script. The only way I can make a video right now with YouTube is to go live, and that's just like straightforward, raw, um, unprepared live video on YouTube. So I'm getting some feedback and guidance from somebody who's interested in helping me work through some things and achieve some goals. And um, we kind of came up with the idea to create community and to to sort of reboot my YouTube channel here. And I have made videos in the past, but most of them were somewhat rambling stream of consciousness kind of poetry readings and sort of ranting that I did about stuff. And this is much more about reaching out and, you know, presenting a more refined and hopefully relatable public image. I like to exhibit some of my personality and tell you a little bit about me, where I'm from, what I've been through, what I'm into, what I'm trying to do here. And hopefully you like me and you care about me and whatever I'm talking about here tickles your fancy and you're willing to get on board and maybe give me some feedback, like and subscribe, and participate somehow. Now there is a lot of ground to cover between. Sorry, my nose itches, but my whole face itches. Between I guess I should stay focused right now on who I am, what I'm about, where I've been, all that. There is a little bit of it's itchy, so itchy. There's a little bit of a fear factor in terms of um speaking to the public. I'm actually sitting here right now looking at my own face, listening to my own voice, and making this video from scratch with no script. And that's what it is. And I have a goal in mind, and I've been thinking about this for a while, and I feel like this is a great platform that you can do amazing things, and you can even make money if you get enough subscribers and enough likes and so forth. That's cool. That would be cool. I'd love to do that. But I've got to be interesting and relatable enough that people are willing to do that. And I'm not a sellout. I'm not a flashy kind of dude. I don't have anything, any clickbait here. You know, um, there there are things I could do, like read tarot cards or something, but mainly I just wanted to talk about my ideas. I actually don't know how that's going to work. It's a little bit hard to talk about myself. Like, here's my view, my opinion of myself, my lived in life. And, I want you to form an opinion. So here are my judgments. This is what I want you to think about me. I've already prepared that. So I'm just going to feed it to you. I don't know. You're going to form your own judgments regardless. But in my circuitous way, um, so I'm 44. My birthday is in November. I was born in the year of the rabbit. I love to play music and listen to music. Music is one of my best friends, always there for me emotionally. I love food. I like cooking. I like to do recipes. I like to make my own stir fry and stuff like that. Um, I have a bass guitar. I played bass in a couple of bands years ago, and I bought a guitar recently so I could learn how to play. And I'm not very good yet, but I've learned a couple of songs from using Guitar Tab uh, app. Sorry about the itchiness. I trimmed my mustache after the first video, and I don't know. I don't think that's the problem. Dust bunnies, maybe. Anyways, I've been through a lot of stuff. I was raised in a Navy family. We moved every 2 or 3 years. Um, there's a lot of sad things. There's a lot of things I'm not happy about. I don't want to just be a somber guy. I'm actually I have a lot of joy and love in my life and inner peace on a certain level, and I experience bliss periodically. And I've become rather pragmatic in dealing with things. My, you know, it is hard to talk about myself sometimes, just straight to my own face in the camera, not knowing who's going to watch this or whatever. So, I mean, I feel like I need to be sort of careful with what I put out there into the ether on the internet. Um, but I mean, this is it. It's already, sorry, oh my God, 5.5 minutes into this video. I haven't really told you very much. I lived on Guam for 3 years. I lived in South Carolina for a couple of years. I lived in Philadelphia when I was a teenager. Um, I've lived in Maryland for the last 20 something years, except for a few years when I lived in Northern Virginia. And I basically am East Coast dude at this point. Well, I'd love to go out west. There are places I'd love to do more traveling. There are a lot of places that are interesting to me. I've been out of the country a few times. I've been to London, I've been to Montreal, and when I was a kid living on Guam with my family, we went to Tokyo and Hong Kong on family vacation, and that was cool. Made quite an impression on me. Um, I used to do a lot of reading. I still kind of collect books, but I don't read as much as I used to, for whatever reason. I play a good amount of video games. I've always been a gamer. Um, I love movies and the occasional TV show. I try to avoid watching a lot of mainstream shows like new shows and stuff like that. I'm not somebody who likes to have the TV on a lot. I enjoy peace and quiet. I spent a lot of years studying comparative religion and mysticism and the occult. Ooh, and just trying to explore uh, the mysteries. I'm kind of self-initiated into the mysteries, and that's kind of like an esoteric side of religion or various religions. I'm kind of eclectic when it comes to that. I take what seems to be true or work or make sense to me. I've had a lot of psychic kinds of experiences. I've had a lot of spiritual kinds of experiences. I was very interested in reincarnation and astral projection, out of body experiences, and telepathy. I'm a firm believer in a psychic reality. I do experience what I believe to be a form of mental telepathy or cultural telepathy. These things are a little bit hard to prove. It's kind of subjective. Like even with my past life experiences or regressions, they're glimpses into something or they're hints of something that stand out. It's largely a matter of like a personal mental apprehension or impression of something. And I've done a lot of reading on that and philosophy and so forth, so I could bring it together. I went through an extended period of confusion and have had a lot of upsets and setbacks and bulwarks to things in my life. A lot of pipe dreams and things that didn't work out or didn't go the way I might have wanted or expected them to. And, I deal with that. I'm a pretty emotional person, but I'm a pretty cerebral person. But, I try to be as well rounded and grounded as I can. Like I said, I love food, movies, music, travel. I enjoy conversations with people. I keep pretty close contact with my family members and with a couple of pretty close friends. I don't really have too much of a group or community around me. I do have something of that through like um, Facebook and stuff. I have tried to use social media as social outreach and a platform for trying and testing different things and putting ideas and feelings and things out there to get feedback. And I do lean on that to a degree, although it has made me a little bit more. Um, I do struggle with some anxiety. It's kind of I think that my anxiety is attributed directly or indirectly to specific things and people sometimes, um, like the psychic stuff. It's not always easy for me to put my finger on it or deal with it directly, but I tend to worry about things if it's like looming or hanging over me, or there are things that like developing empathy. I developed empathy pretty spontaneously. Like I spent a lot of years meditating and all of this and working on my spirituality and psychic development, and then I started to really have a experience when somebody shared something with me, like an injury or something like that. So I began to develop a lot more compassion, and I worked to develop my conscience, and I worked to develop, you know, I worked to develop discernment, and good judgment, and I worked to develop a positive mental attitude, and I've worked to develop um, concepts and theories, and to develop my working theories and share them with people. And you know I've reached a point with a lot of things where they're simple enough to explain to just about anybody. I think almost anyone could relate to it, or I feel like I could relate to practically anyone, particularly if we speak the same language. I do believe we have more in common than not as human beings, and the main and primary things that we have in common are being human, being alive in this time frame, and living on planet Earth, and that we share resources, and a lot of things occur simultaneously to people all over the world and all the time. If you can get an objective view of things, have a worldview, and have a life affirming philosophy, perennial philosophy, it's entirely possible to be a realist and to maintain optimism, and it's just a healthy outlook on things. Even when you're struggling or things aren't good, you can be resigned to that, or you can face it squarely. Or when you're, there are things that bother me about my past, or things that are still with me, that I've kind of been stuck on for a long time, like hangups that I have, and stuff like that. And that's a little bit harder to address, either personally or publicly, because it is of it is it's private, but it's hard to share. But I also don't really know exactly what to do about it. So I kind of just have to hope that the more I work on being a good person and helping people, making the world a better place, making myself of service, making a contribution, creating value, sharing ideas with people, and all of that good stuff, that just generates like good karma, and maybe works to dispel bad karma or whatever stuck energies. I also believe that everything is energy, that all is one, that there's a unity of the grand design that we should pay attention to. That unity is the key to everything. And it might escape your notice because I'm talking quickly, but the fact that we're human living on planet Earth in this time frame, we're entering 2020, and we have more in common than not, and that you know, but it's supposed to be pragmatic. We get caught up in a lot of things. There's a lot of discrepancies and seeming differences and things, and we get all caught up and hung up on that stuff, and in the trivia of life and all the sort of non-essential things. You can't really track it, but you can track the ball that we live on and all the people on the ball, and then maintain that almost like it was a extra bodily consciousness, or like a planetary chakra, if you will. And then there's other things that esoteric knowledge that's worthwhile, like the yoga chakra system, or various philosophies that are specific in dealing with spiritual and human endeavors. And what's important to me is how that we're caretakers and custodians of the planet, and that we have a innate love of nature, and of being alive, and of each other, from our families and our ancestors to our friends to our coworkers to you know people on the street, celebrities, strangers and everybody else, and that we find ways to overcome this seeming differences, like differences in language and culture and age and this and that, all the things that are opinions, and they're contained within the parameter of being human living on planet Earth. Okay. And as far as I know, it's not flat, it's a sphere. But, you know, be that as it may, still, we live on a planet and we're human. So, there's a unity of the grand design. And in that is a sort of like a master plan of life, that it contains intelligence and a certain life force. There's a forces, the cosmic forces that were put in motion billions of years ago, as far as we know, and it's all creating this today. So all of that leads up to this. All of the successful pairing of your ancestors leads us to this, to you and to me, having this talk and the conversations that we may have and all the interactions. And we got to exercise discernment and good judgment, and it's really important to have a worldview that's simplistic and be able to prioritize and think about what's important, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like the fact that there are many people who don't have internet access, or that could be useful, or the people that are starving or homeless, or people who are suffering, from every different religious, whether you're Christian or Buddhist or whatever, you're a human being. And if you understand English and you're alive right now and you're listening to my voice, this is for you. This is from me to you, from human to human, from one human to another. It's with love, with respect for your human dignity, for your needs. And I believe that we can help each other, encourage each other, and influence each other in a wholesome and positive way with due regard for each other's, individual human rights. And that we should respect the planet and all the other kingdoms of nature. And we should look at it with a sense of wonder and develop our curiosity, our conscience, and raise consciousness for the planet. And I think we can be leaders in that. I want to be on the cutting edge of that as much as I can, and it doesn't matter to me if I'm first or last, as long as it happens. But that's what's important to me. I want to see that pollution is reduced. I want to see that energy is made available with I want to see that the infrastructure is improved, that there's plenty of food and places to live for everyone, that we're not being destructive to our environment and to the other kingdoms of nature on Earth, and that we're open to possibilities and we're not hung up on some belief system or some something superficial, that we don't think that's the end, that we don't think that that we do think for ourselves, and we do have a creative vision, and that we draw inspiration from somewhere, and that it's from a common well, and then we don't pollute the well, that we dip into that, but we share with other people, that we're willing to be of service and help others and all. I think it's a vital part of the perennial philosophy. And that's pretty much what I'm here to say. Like, I've been through some difficult things. I have experienced suffering and all the stuff. And I hear people whose stories are way worse than mine. I don't really want to emphasize that. And, I'm being careful of what kind of impression I want to give you of me, because I want you to like me. I want you to be interested in what I have to say. And I want us to be able to come together and cooperate and make the world a better place and help each other. It's not just about me. I'm just trying to participate in this because I have the same kind of needs and desires as anybody, and to each their own. I mean, some people like chocolate or vanilla ice cream. Some people don't like any ice cream. Um, but we should be able to identify problems and find solutions, and we shouldn't be so much at odds with each other because it well, you know, almost goes without saying. What I really want in my life is inner peace and world peace and a sense of, peace and prosperity and love. And those things can be shared. And we can work together to make sure people have food, clothing, shelter, education, energy, information access. Um, and we can all look out for one another and respect one another. And we can overcome these seeming differences, because we're not really all that different when you get down to it. We all have the same basic needs and drives as humans and as denizens of this planet, and we need to be more cosmopolitan. The internet and social media has made the world smaller. We have innovations in communication and transportation that make the world smaller, bring us closer together, and we need to put aside these differences because they're not essential, and they don't make us better people, and they don't make the world a better place. And there's a lot of things that are kind of being foisted upon us, even imposed, that kind of are almost like an imposition or a form of oppression. We do have to work within the current parameters, but we need to strive to improve and recognize the problems and resolve them. And we must not give up on that. We should never cease to strive and ever continue to improve until we everybody's taken care of, and there's world peace, and we can branch out. But the human race and other species on this planet are not going to survive another couple hundred or 1,000 years of wanton pollution and warfare and things of that nature. And we need to be trying to overcome the language barriers and the cultural differences and things like that, because for the sake of the planet and all the people. And I'm sorry if that sounds a little hippy dippy, but that is really what I believe, and I think that's what we really need to do. So this is probably long enough. I don't know if I left out anything. This is what I really want to say. This is basically who I am. I mean, everyone's got their story, and we've all been through it, and we're going to continue to go through it. And I want to do something new, you know? I want to do something new. I want a career that makes sense, that makes me feel better, that I know that I'm doing good in the world. That's something that I can be proud of to share with the people that I respect and care about. And that creates creates value. But maybe I'm repeating myself. I hope you get the gist of what I'm saying and you dig it, and you can like and subscribe this, and you can leave me some feedback, and we can do this. I believe that we can do this, and we can. So thank you for watching, and I will hopefully be making more videos in the future, and we'll see what happens. Thank you.